Hi, and thanks for joining me again. I'd like to spend a bit of time and introduce you to a process that we use quite often. It's called Appreciative Inquiry, and the secret's in the name really. It's about asking questions and showing some appreciation for the context in which we're asking them, and also for the people who are giving us the responses. It's an approach we use quite regularly here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, why we use it, and why you might want to consider using it yourselves. We've got this idea, haven't we, about what a consultative relationship is about, and it's a bit of an old cliche, isn't it? You can loan me your watch, I'll tell you the time and charge you a fiver. Well, there is a bit more to it than that, but if we think a little bit about the more commonly accepted ways of developing consultative relationships, it tends to focus on what's going wrong, and for me that's an ideal way of persuading people that they shouldn't actually declare what's going wrong. The best thing to do if something is going wrong is to maybe distance yourself from it or bury it somewhere. What I am pretty much convinced about is that if we're into problem solving as a consultative relationship, we're going to be working hard to get to the bottom of some of the issues that really we should be surfacing pretty easily. If we're taking a look at maybe working with people who are wanting desperately to tell us what it is they're doing well, maybe we should be tapping into that, and here's a way to do it. We have used appreciative inquiry to enable teams, individuals, groups to understand their capacity to make change and to develop a positive change agenda, one that carries us forward, taps into our strengths. And yes, there are challenges and opportunities ahead, but if we're doing this from a place of positivity that's already identified what it is we're good at and what it is drives us, that gives us a greater chance of success. I feel very strongly that this process brings an energy to working with teams, to working with groups, because what we're wanting to do is to allow the participants to develop a clear focus on where they want to be, and that's based on successes and past highlights. It's digging in to find out what it is we do well and how can we do some more of it, and be very clear about the contribution it makes to our working environment. I do need to be clear. I do see there is space for a problem-solving approach, but it shouldn't be our only course of action. We can take a look at appreciative inquiry. So set out on this table here is, if you like, a counter-argument to problem solving. What is it that we're doing that's describing a better, brighter, more engaged future? And for me, it explains itself in the bottom rows of each table. So with problem solving, the group is the problem, and in appreciative inquiry, what's going on in this team, what's happening here. There are some mysteries to be embraced, and we're going to find out some stuff that we might think we know or we might have registered, but actually when we dig a little deeper we can find out that that is the life, the blood, the energy of the team, and it can make a massive contribution to how we develop as we go forward. Do you know, once we find what's working well, we can start to focus on it and talk about it in very different terms. That creates some rather special moments for us, and in those moments we can find out actually there's quite a lot of real tangible stuff going on here. So that's what I mean by multiple realities. When we start asking questions, when we're doing the inquiry, the very fact that we're asking questions influence the way the group works in some way or other. If those questions are positively framed, guess what? There's a positive influence. So when we talk about an uncertain future, and certainly that has been the case over the recent past, if we're carrying successful stories forward, people can associate themselves to those success stories and learn from them and say, do you know what, yes, actually we can do that, and we can value the different perspectives that people bring. People have said to me, this is Pollyanna thinking, this is blue sky stuff, and it's got very little basis in reality. Well, all right, it is actually a feel-good exercise, but it's a feel-good exercise for some very positive reasons. And here we go, if you just read the piece about the customer satisfaction survey, and I wonder, that temptation to dwell on the 6% that's not working too well, what's that saying about the 94% that's working perfectly well? And it's actually bringing quite a lot of energy, profit, engagement, stakeholder relationships, a load of good stuff going on. I have to ask myself, why is it that we're concentrating on a minority of activity that actually, when we set it in the context of everything else that's going on, why are we allowing this to act like a dragging anchor for us? It's a valid response. I'm not saying we should ignore it, but we do need to contextualise it. And if we've got 95% of stuff that's working really well, shouldn't we be concentrating on why that works and can we do more? Maybe one of the hardest things to get through, but it's actually essential to getting things started, is that we understand you need to leave your cynicism at the door. There actually isn't a place for it here. What we are asking people is to commit to give it a try and begin to engage in identifying the success stories, identifying the positives, identifying those unforeseen opportunities that we stumbled across almost, and boy did it tell us something really powerful about ourselves. And if we're doing that rather than maybe constantly dwelling on the negatives, we'll find that that's going to create a very positive and palpable shift in mindset. You know, it's always great if the team or the group can choose a topic for exploration, and sometimes that happens more often though, because we've been engaged as consultants. There's a specific agenda that we're following. However, if we use this sort of template, you'll be able to see how we are beginning to open up people's thinking to the possibilities of what it is they've done well that can be carried forward. So that time when your team, your group performed well, what was happening, when it brought you pride, to be a member of that group, what was all that about, and what is the value of this to you in your professional life, and of course the knock-on effects in maybe in your private life, your general sense of well-being and happiness. There's also ideas about the impact on bottom line that we'll discuss a bit later. Do you know what I really like about this approach is that it changes the role of the consultant to somebody who does to somebody who does with, and that's a great place to be. What we're actually doing is empowering team members to interview each other with some pre-cited questions, one that they're agreed on, and the facilitator, supporter, the consultant, what we're actually doing is to sort of pick out the strong themes that emerge from this process, and you come up with some very quotable quotes. People come out with something, wow, where did that come from? And if we all knew that, what difference would it make, these common threads of success? Do you know, if we get this right, and there's no reason why we shouldn't, if we get the preparation right, we have the right conversations, we're going to find out from our interviews, colleagues interviewing colleagues, bringing it back maybe to the facilitator or a core group, we're going to find out the best of what it is we do. And there's going to be some very pleasant surprises that will enable us then to describe the circumstances that say, well, what liberates that best practice? We can then say, look, if we were doing more of this, this is the impact it would make on our future. And we can talk about that as if it was already happening. What feelings does it release? What's the positivity? What impact does it have on people's sense of well-being and belonging and affiliation to the group, the team, the company? And also, how does that impact then spread itself to the bottom line? Because what we do know is that organisations, teams that perform well, there is a visible impact on profitability or the meeting of KPIs or outcomes. Again, one of the regular questions I'm asked is, okay, then when we've done it, where are we going to be? Well, we're going to be here. We're going to have an end product that we should be able to talk to people about in quite low-falutin language, no technical language going on here, should be easily communicable. And we will produce those statements that better define our role, our purpose, and the expected behaviours to take us there. Team members will feel clearer about their contribution in developing processes. We've got something here that we can revisit. Have we done what we said we were going to do? What adjustments do we need to make? How can we do more that gives us better results? And the real benefit for me is the impact it has on encouraging positive, productive dialogue within teams. And I feel it's something that many organisations do have, others would like to have and treasure because of the impact it makes. And now all that remains is for me to say thank you very much indeed for joining me here. I hope that you found something in this brief presentation that's made you think, do you know what, I'd like to find out a little bit more about that. If that is the case, then please get in touch with us. Be only too happy to have a conversation with you, with the prospect of introducing you personally to how Appreciative Inquiry could work for you, your company, your team.